if you're not irritating someone, if you're not creating a ruckus, you're not doing it right. Like not everyone is going to like you. And I think that is a really great lesson to begin with, is to know that the only one that needs to belong is me. And I belong in my own business. And I get to exist in my own business, even with my team that I have. Because if we don't feel like we belong in our own business, it's not authentic.
Yes. Hi, I'm Erin Marcus, former corporate executive turned entrepreneur and founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business. Welcome to the Ready Yet podcast. We're excited to bring you more than 100 episodes of interviews and insights designed to help entrepreneurs get the financial and emotional freedom they need in order to build a business and a life they're proud of. All right. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. I am excited about today's guest, one, because this was the craziest coincidence when we started to talk about our backgrounds, but Clare Hefferen, and I know I'm going to screw up the name of the business because we just went over it 17 times about how to say it. Go Callosum.
Yep. And we're just Callosum. The go is just our URL. So Callosum.
Oh, got it. Callosum. Cool. And we'll get into the neat idea behind that name as well. But I'm excited to have you join me today for several reasons. One, I love the fact that we do such similar things in such different markets. And I think a conversation about that will immensely help people. I love how you figured out what wasn't for you and found success when you really dived into what was for you, and a million other things. So before we get into that, why don't you tell everybody a little bit more formally who you are and what you do and all the cool stuff?
Sure. First, thanks so much for having me, Erin. So I'm Clare Hefferen, and I own Callosum, which is a purpose-driven branding agency for the outdoor industry. And we work with early and growth stage businesses, which we define as up to 10 million in revenue.
And I love this outdoor piece being, one of the things that I run into challenges with some of my clients is a big fear around creating a niche, right? A huge fear around creating a niche. And you are such magnificent proof that that's where the answer is.
It can be. I mean, I understand the fear, because it can be a fear of scarcity.
Yeah.
Of, is there enough? And I do know, the outdoor industry is something like 4 billion and growing. So is that small? No, it's not small. And we've even niched it smaller inside of that. But it's very easy to know if I'm the right person or not, if the agency is for you or not, because we've made it really clear. I think so frequently businesses make it too complicated. Am I the right person for you?
And again, out of fear that what if you, let's say it's really two things. One, fear financially, that if I put in some kind of parameter that makes you think I'm not the right person for you, I'm saying no to sales. And two, we all just want people to like us. So why would we do something that turn people off, right?
Right. Well, and I'll never forget her. Sally Hogshead is a previously personal branding, personality guru, fabulous last name, Hogshead. Look her up for the funny story of her last name. But if you're not irritating someone, if you're not creating a ruckus, you're not doing it right. Not everyone is going to like you. And I think that is a really great lesson to begin with, is to know that the only one that needs to belong is me. And I belong in my own business. And I get to exist in my own business, even with my team that I have, because if we don't feel like we belong in our own business, it's not authentic.
Yes. Well, and I love that you bring this authenticity into it, because people you hear that a lot right now, authenticity, this push against the Instagram influencers that are not so honest. And yet, the only way to be authentic, if you're really going to be authentic, to your point, you got to own your message, you got to own your niche, you got to own what I've learned to say is, I will be the first one to tell you what I can't do, but I own the crap out of what I can do. Right. And so you can be authentic within your space and connect so much. Niche is not about scarcity, it's about making it easy.
Well, I hate all the buzzwords, and I'm a marketing, branding person of, own your genius, outsource the things that don't light you up. I mean, that is important in finding your journey and allowing you to yourself to evolve within your business, where it continually you are increasing your value of your own time and making sure that as you do that, that allows you to deliver better for your clients. If you're, banging your head against a wall trying to do something that's IT based, you're not going to show up well for your clients. And so I think it's having the self-awareness to be conscious and open to giving grace and learning, continually evolving. And when you can do that, you can also allow your clients to do that too.
Well, and I think, and I was just filling this out this morning, so it's really relevant. We have a similar background in like a corporate experience, a high pressure, high financial, like lots of things going on, corporate background. And I think that's one of the good things I took away from that situation was this idea of delegating. Like if I would have gone into the office where the IT department lived and started messing with the servers, I would have gotten chased out with, pitchforks and torches. So why, as an entrepreneur, am I playing in that space? Why would I mess with that in my own company if that's not what I'm good at?
Mm-hmm. And I also think, devil's advocate, it's good to know enough to get in trouble.
Yes.
But it's also good to know enough to get out.
Yes. What I mean more is the people who I see who want to create their own website and they want to create their own brand and they want to run their own servers and they want to do the automation tech. And it's like, okay, is that the stuff you're good at? Because, like you said, I won't do the bang my head against the wall version of doing business. So, but let's get in a little bit because I love your shift. Tell me a little bit about your background and what you were doing and then how you found yourself where you are now and that transition.
Sure. And so that's a 32-year span.
Just a quick
I'll do it. I can do it. I can do this. So I will say that I'm from the Midwest, from Chicago. I was raised in what I would call an intellectual family. So we were very much about continually studying, continually trying and evolving, be the CEO, marry the CEO, have the title, credentials. And that served me quite well corporately when I, from graduation of college for 17 years, and I did a traditional track of graphic design, art director, creative director, marketing side, agency side, and then over to corporate side where I was running an in-house creative department. And in that time, I went through one cycle of burnout, and I realized that I'm not sure this is really what I want. And so I think as an adult, at many times in our life, we have the chance to decide, is this my plan or someone else's plan? And does it suit me? And so in that 17 years, I took a break and I moved to Vail, Colorado. I had grown up skiing and started coming out west, and my health was failing because I was in burnout and I was a workaholic. And so I moved to Colorado. I had a job, always responsible, always driven, love what I do, but I wasn't taking care of myself. And so in that time, I realized nature is pretty wonderful. And so I had a reality check of the power of nature, but I also missed my career. And so I left, went to California. Another decade went by, and I wanted to come back to Colorado, but I needed to determine how to financially and intellectually make it work for me. We are a small global destination ski town. The lifestyle is fantastic here. And for me, I also wanted the intellectual component. And so I launched Callosum with the goal in Chicago. I launched it with the goal of moving back to Vail. And so I made that happen. And I'm in Vail. And then I went through a period of a year where I had a lot of loss in my life, death. And I found myself running on the ridge lines of the mountains to be closer to heaven, to those that I lost. And in that time, I found healing in nature. And I had also, living here full time, I became a tomboy. And so I am polar, a tomboy and an intellectual, like I call it sophisticated tomboy.
There you go.
And so what I believe in is the power of nature for healing and for empowerment. And so I get the dopamine from it. And that dopamine I take as fuel for my business. I'm also a student of flow state. So now my lifestyle is anchored in Vail, Colorado, but our clients are nationwide and my team is global, which allows me to travel out to experience culture and to see what's happening in the marketplace, but to always come home to a place of grounding.
I absolutely love it. And it's just one other weird coincidence that you and I had, like when you and I first met and first chatted, we realized we're the exact same age. We grew up in the same place. There's no way we don't know the same people. And now I have the same thing. I didn't get to move quite to Colorado, but I live on a wooded lot. I volunteered wildlife rescue. My whole concept is immersed in nature is the phrase that I always use. That's how I level and ground myself. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, how did you figure out it was burnout and not just illness or right? Because for someone with your upbringing and the messages that you would have received about what's the right thing to do, what's the right path, I would imagine burnout wasn't your first thought of what's like lifestyle change was not the first thing you came up with the solution, right?
No, and I will say, like, there is nothing, those messages are fantastic. It just wasn't for me.
Totally.
Wasn't working for me. And so, and I can think way back to my childhood where I would get shipped off to my cousins who liked camping. And my aunt taught me how to read the stars laying on a picnic table. It wasn't really my family's gig. We would go on historical tours, which was fantastic. Different, all great, different. And so the reason I figured out it was burnout was I went through a second cycle. So in living in Vail, I moved here in 2010. And I had a concussion in 2013. I was hit skiing. Ooh. And it was kind of an unfortunate stack of issues where I had a concussion, a breast cancer scare, and a loss. And so some grief. And that because my brain wasn't actually functioning very well, I was working like a hamster wheel. And so I had to work more hours to accomplish the same amount of work. And I was trying to hide it from my clients because it just wasn't appropriate to tell them I'm recovering from a traumatic brain injury. They knew, but they didn't know the depth. So I knew that something was wrong. I didn't know how to fix it. I was working, 60-hour weeks for years. And so I didn't know how to fix it. Fortunately, I'm a lifelong learner. I like to read. And I started reading books about flow state. And in, I don't know, maybe 2018. And in 2020, I was introduced to the Flow Research Collective, which is headed up by best-time seller Stephen Kotler, one of the current day founders of Flow State. And I studied with them intensively for 8 weeks. And they are very data-driven. And so we took a lot of tests, assessments, and they had a burnout assessment. And I was like off the charts.
Oh, gosh. It's got to be some relief, right? There's got to be some relief in that moment of finally having some language, having some parameters around what you had been, because I don't know if you're the same way, but my upbringing, my Midwest work ethic, corporate achievement upbringing was just work harder. That's how you solve problems. Mm-hmm. You just work harder.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. And so what I learned was you also can't fix it overnight, but I now have many tools, a much larger toolbox of 5 positive psychology: must sleep, must eat, must move. And these are non-negotiables in my business. I also redesigned the way I work I, as an athlete, know how to recover my body. I had no idea I had to recover my mind, just like an athletic workout. So I learned about recovering my mind on a daily basis. And so now the way I work, before I would sit down and not stand up for 8 hours, not eat, no restroom break, and you finish the day and you're just a zombie. How are you supposed to exercise or do anything? Eat, feed yourself. And so I changed the way I work, and I now work in a 90-minute time block with a 10-minute nervous system break all day long. I take a full hour off for lunch, no phone. I meditate, I do breath work. So I am and most people are like, wow, that's so regimented. You're so specific. It gave me my life back because I have energy now at the end of my day.
Yeah. And
the brain is a muscle, not like, I would say it was a filing cabinet. And I'm like, no, it's not a filing, and a really old filing cabinet. It's a muscle. And so I use my brain to think, not to store data.
Love it. I absolutely love it. And I love how, and we'll move into your business a little bit, because the idea that you can find success that way, right? That you can find success taking breaks and not working, hit it harder as your only option, right? And make it work for you. And I recently, people laugh because it's so not me. I did a live stream last week, the week before, a love letter to processes, because I'm a marketing person, right? I'm a business strategist. The last thing I want to do is put ducks in a row, and I won't follow them even once they are in a row, until I realized that having repeatable, scalable processes was the key to reaching everything. So as you're talking about the non-negotiables in your life, what you've realized and live is that those being regimented with a couple of things gives you the freedom for everything else. Mm-hmm. And then you just grab onto them. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Well, and I will start to ignore them. I think we are all human. And so, yes, I automate things that can be automated, and processes I love linear stuff, love spreadsheets, a little unusual, visual, creative, and I love the spreadsheets. I am not the executioner. Someone else does that for me. I'm the ideator and the strategist. But when you look at those allow you to scale. Yes. And I think having the ability to decide where you want processes and how you fuel yourself up is important. And that can also be managed on the time of the day or the day of the week. I'm also known as pretty strong with boundaries, in terms of I have office hours. I have days where I don't take meetings, and my clients love it and hate it.
Right. They hate it, but they respect the heck out of it, right?
They do.
They respect, right. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Ready Yet podcast, brought to you by Conquer Your Business. With decades of experience, Conquer Your Business creates business and branding strategies that build multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses. And we don't just show you what to do. We have an entire team of people available to help you do it, strategy and implementation. You can learn more and reach out to us by visiting conqueryourbusiness.com. But let's talk about your business a little bit, and going back to where we started with this idea of niche. So how did you come to, or did you just launch it with this niche in mind? And tell me more about what it is, because we're very similar in what we do, but there's enough differences for me to be massively curious. Sure. Tell me more about your company and what you guys do for your clients.
Sure. So it did not start this way. The company, I want to say I'm 17 years old now. Not me. Business.
Feels like
it started in 2006. I'm 53. So it started as honestly a bread and butter graphic design firm, because I could do that with my eyes closed. And I loved it. And I knew it was transferable I had moved from California to Chicago. It was transferable regardless of the region. So I started building brands and identities and graphic design. I come from, pre-computer. And as I knew that I was temporarily in Chicago, really with the hope to come back to Colorado, at the time I was working a lot with human beings and personal branding and training businesses. It's the same process. It's a different deliverable. So I have worked with branding human beings, companies, and products. I used to, in that mix of California, I worked in the apparel industry and product development, have a second degree in product development. So as I moved my way back towards Colorado, and I became much more of a mountain town destination individual, that's where my heart was. And, I don't do a good job working on a project if I don't truly believe in it.
Yeah.
And so where do we light up? And so I narrowed it. First of all, there was a recession in there. And so the dollars around HR and professional development dried up. And so while I still had that people, companies, product, it moved more towards companies. And so when we came to Colorado full time, I narrowed it down to mountain town destination and outdoor industry. And I will tell you I was nervous about scarcity. I was not willing to eliminate mountain town destination businesses. Now I can brand anything in Eagle County or Tahoe or Salt Lake City because it is a mountain destination. And I know that marketplace and my team lives in that marketplace. But I really wanted to work in outdoor only. I wasn't sure quite yet. And so in those years of 2017 of loss, of transformation, of stepping out into nature, what actually happened to me was I found my personal purpose. So, and I know that's the lingo term these days, a buzzword. Purpose, to massive transformational purpose to me means, what do I want my legacy to be? I don't have children. I think it really hit at that time because I realized I would not have my own children. And I wanted to make a difference in the world. We can. There's a lot of problems out there. So as I found that healing and that inspiration in the mountains, I knew I could help one person at a time. But I said, how can I help more people faster? More people. It was like the impetus pre-COVID. How do more people get out from behind the desk, go out into nature? And so I determined about folding my personal purpose into my business. So I realized I was frustrated with my clients that only wanted to make revenue. You would ask them about their values. You would ask them about what crises they were committed to helping with. How were they involved in their community? And if they were not, and we couldn't have that conversation, I was frustrated because I wanted more for myself, for them, and for the planet and the community. So at that point, I made a decision that I would transition, finish up projects with clients that didn't want to integrate purpose, and only begin working with clients that had the desire to have purpose. And so from a business standpoint, we added into Callosum, our business purpose is to create better brands for a better planet. The same reason for every outdoor brand that Callosum works with, more human beings step into nature because of my original purpose. So it's a quick breeding spider web of impact. And so what we specifically do is say, what are you committed to? Let's look at global crises. What are you committed to helping with? And there's, people go, I can't afford it. Well, you can volunteer. There's many ways that you can do it. And so we help to define purpose. We help to integrate it into products, services, messaging. Brand is not just marketing. It's across the whole company. And so that's where it became like why I come to work, why I love this, why clients really enjoy working with us. We are deep thinkers, sometimes annoyingly so. We are that 8-year-old that has many, many questions, because that's where the juiciness is, or the nectar is, of what can differentiate you. We know consumers buy based on values. They vote with their dollars. They are looking behind the curtains to see, are you walking the talk?
Yep.
And so, it's confronting. It's not easy work, but it's very rewarding work.
Well, and I think it inherently helps prevent burnout. Right? Like when yes, you got to be careful about not driving yourself into the ground, but emotionally, when you have such an excited attachment to the outcome you're providing, as opposed to the workload you're just trying to get through, it's a completely different mindset.
Right, for sure. And you just let me go ding, ding, ding. And my head went, be careful of that servant leadership overreach. So yes. If you're familiar, like servant leadership is, I I see your gift. I want to help. I'm here to serve. So I have an aversion to the term expert. I may have worked in this field for 30 plus years. I am not the expert. I am the guide. I am really good at extracting the ethos of pieces, but I have to be careful that when a brand graduates, when a project ends, it needs to be a win-win. We deliver good goods, and it is up to the brand to fly. It's never a I win, you lose, or I lose, you win. And so I believe that providing the foundational materials for the brands to continue to grow is my goal. And we as a team have to be careful and committed that we work really hard to deliver good content, and the success is up to the company, not to us.
And I also think, like what you said before about having your boundaries, I think this all, like, culture flows down, right? And when you're an entrepreneur, it's going to be even more affected that the culture at the top is what flows through the company, because it's just so more closely held. Mm-hmm. So the reason you're able to do that for your clients is because you walk the talk. And you can see that in people's products and services. Like, you can see that in the output people create when they're loose on their boundaries, when they don't really have their deal dialed in. You can almost tell in the work that they do that it's a little loose. It's not quite dialed in.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, yeah. And yes, you have to be present, well rested, paying attention to, what is this? And I use the term plork. So I don't know if I invented it. I think I invented it. It's PLORK, play and work. So I was taught to separate it very much. I was do the work, you get the reward.
Yes.
And so it was and I took many years to weave that back together. That is not effective for me. And so a huge benefit of being an entrepreneur is that I create my schedule. And so I weave play and work together and inspiration together, because it keeps my energy level up. If I don't pay attention to that, I have a big dip in the afternoon. So paying attention to your biometrics of what's your normal cadence. About every 3 months, I kind of crash and I'm no longer productive. So I schedule in advance a 4-day retreat every quarter, sort of learning those things that as an entrepreneur help you. And then also making sure that your team gets that as well, mm-hmm. and understands and can hold you accountable of, when things start to fall apart. They're like, have you scheduled that thing today?
I hate to say it, but you look like you need a break. Right?
And so I said, like, I have plan Bs. I have my normal routine of tools that work. And when they start to fail, I take that 4-day weekend and then I swap to the different routine, because the brain wants a challenge, and the brain will challenge. If it's already started to ignore it, it means it's time to switch over so that it gives it something fresh, a new puzzle to win.
Love it. Love it. So going back to your business, why don't you wrap us up with what you are seeing going on? Like, one of the things I love to do is let's shorten people's learning curves. Like, if you just don't do it the way I did it, you're already ahead of the game type of thing. But sharing what you're seeing going on. Let's, the audience here are entrepreneurs. You're in branding, which is, I can't even tell people how it just starts there. It makes doing a good job on that makes everything easier. We've already been going deep into that. But what are some of the things that you've been seeing going on or not going on that we can help with some folks right now?
Sure. Well, first, I think I should define what branding is, because we could be not aware. So from a basic level, I define branding as the 5 senses plus intuition made tangible.
Love it.
What does it look like, smell like, sound like, feel like when I interact with this product, service, company, and I walk away? What am I left with? So at the onset, branding is defining internally what is the ethos of us with those 5 senses and intuition. And it comes from the founders, but it is really powerful to integrate the staff to help you so that they have ownership of it. And from there, your brand, yes, it includes strategy. It includes, initiatives, key messages, and then the identity of that. And then you create the content, which you push outward. So for our sake right now in 2023, what we're looking at is typically we work in 6 and 12 month buckets with clients. And we have always the same 3 steps with any client at any level. And the first is to look at their website. Is it optimized for list building, for awareness, for conversion? Then we looked at what are the funnels for revenue? What are your products or services? How do people find you? And then the third is, what is the content on those funnels? And are you watching the data? Does it actually convert? So we like to say we lead with intuition, follow with data.
Love it.
What we are seeing is that our clients that would typically sign a year-long retainer are nervous, anxious. Sometimes it's finance. Sometimes it's I can't get my head that far ahead. We are, if not already in a recession, it's just there's a fear factor in the culture currently. Mm-hmm. And so I'm known as a empathetic straight shooter.
Yes.
I'm not going to ignore this. Let's address it. I hear you. You can't sign this, so you're anxious about this. So I like to educate. Normally a branding budget is 12 to 15% in the outdoor industry specifically. So run your own numbers. Should you invest? Is this a wise investment or not? We also do, it's called the quadruple bottom line. So we did not invent this. This is a global term. It's just had a resurgence. So the quadruple bottom line began with the bottom line is profit. So the quadruple bottom line is profit, people, planet, and purpose. The first 3 are about the singular human being. When you hit purpose, it becomes about humanity. And so it moves beyond us to make a difference in the world. So our goal is to always integrate the quadruple bottom line across the business model and to look at the brand to make sure that it is consistent. It's called the brand platform. So one of the fun things we do is we have a quadruple bottom line blueprint workshop, which is complimentary first Thursday of the month.
Oh, nice.
To introduce, what is that? How do I get started? Is this for me?
Love it. And so is this for anyone, or do you think this is better suited for your outdoor brand?
Well, we speak to outdoor industry professionals. So the examples, we use case studies. So whoever, this is on Zoom, whoever registered, I will do research in advance of what is your website, and I will look at what I'm seeing. So by the end of the workshop, we'll give you examples of do this, this, and this within the next week, quick fixes, changes. Yes. And then go back at a deeper level. So it is scratching the surface. So it is applicable to all industries. I absolutely have people from other industries attending because the terminology resonates with people, right. And it is applicable. Our niche just happens to be outdoor industry.
Love it. Love it. And if people want to continue this conversation with you, and I highly recommend they do, what is the best way for everyone to get a hold of you and find out what you're up to?
Sure. So I would say that I personally am most active on LinkedIn, and Clare Hefferen, double everything, HEFFERREN. If you would like to connect with me there, I'm very much open to connections. And then our website is great, which is gocallosum.com.
And we will make sure that all of the links are in the show notes so that people can have no trouble finding you at all. This is awesome. Thank you so much for your stories, your insights, your sharing your personal experience and how you figured this all out. I think there's a lot of people who would benefit from hearing the story that is possible.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you for having me.